Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment you are going to hear the voice of a man who will tell you some tremendously important facts.
Welcome to the Reality Revolution. Today, I'm so excited I have Char Margolis, one of the great psychics, an internationally acclaimed intuitive psychic medium who has been stunning audiences for decades with her gift of connecting with the spirit world. She also teaches psychic intuition and helps her students to enrich their lives. Her popular podcast, Char Vision, can be viewed around the world. In it, she explores all things metaphysical, spiritual, and paranormal while talking live callers and doing readings. She has been on numerous talk shows, including Live with Kelly and Ryan, Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, The Today Show. She's the author of several books, including The Universe is Calling You, and her most recent book, You Are Psychic, is amazing, and I've been going over it, and I have so many questions. So welcome to the Reality Revolution, Char.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for looking over my book.
Well, it's a wonderful thing. I know what it's like to put your heart out there in a book like this, and you cover a lot of ground with this book. You talk about how everybody can be a psychic, and you kind of go into the different ways that we can access this unique ability that we all have.
Well, I say that everyone is psychic. Not everyone is cut out to be a professional psychic.
Of course, but everybody has some ability, right?
Everybody has psychic abilities. Everybody can connect with their loved ones in the spirit world. Everybody has the gift of intuition. Absolutely. And so I've been doing this for 50 years, and I put everything I learned in the last 50 years into this. I mean, I probably have a couple more books in me about it, but I appreciate that you looked it over. I'm so excited because on Amazon.com, it's actually #1 in new releases of spirit guides and angels.
Very cool.
It's amazing. I'm so excited.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's back up a little bit and tell everybody a little bit about your story, how you came to be doing this, how you realized that you had these abilities. And so that we can relate and get an idea of what brought you to this point.
Well, I have to give a lot of kudos to my parents, because when I had feelings about things when I was younger, and they listened to me. Like, I was 4 years old and my dad took me grocery shopping, and when I came home, my mom always looked at the bill, and I said, "Mommy, that lady cheated us." So my mother looks at the bill, and lo and behold, the woman overcharged us. Then 2 weeks later, my mom took me to lunch, and the woman brought the bill. And I said, "Mommy, I think that lady overcharged us." I was only 4 years old. I couldn't even barely count. So my mom looked at the bill, and the woman overcharged us 10 cents, which was, at that time, you could buy a cup of coffee. There was no Starbucks when I was, 4 years old. So, my parents never said, "Stop making up stories, stop trying to get attention." They actually, listened to what I said. And then when I was 8 years old, our house had been broken into. And then 2 weeks after that, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I could see this figure at the foot of my bed, and I could see through him, and he was wearing rags, and he had a pouch, and he put his hand in the pouch and sprinkled all these gold lights on me. And as they landed on me, they evaporated. And I was scared to death. I put the blankets over my head. I didn't know what was going on. And I ran into the kitchen the next morning, and I said, Mommy, the burglars were here again tonight." And she said, "Oh, honey, that was just the Sandman." I said, "Oh, there's a Sandman?" So she didn't skip a beat. And there was an old song called Mr. Sandman. I thought, well, if they wrote a song about him, he must be real. And so that's how it got started. And I was afraid to be alone at night. After that, I had to have somebody stand in my doorway of my bedroom before I went to sleep. I had to have the light on. I had to have the closet door shut. I kept feeling energies, but I didn't know what they were. And it wasn't until I went to college and I actually had just gotten married. And it wasn't until then that I met some people who did seances and who did spiritual work. And this woman helped me as a teacher, which I wrote about in the book. And she told me I could read, and I did for this strange person. I knew names, I knew situations, I knew she was having a bad marriage, I knew all this stuff. And I had an epiphany right at that moment. And I thought, wow, I knew I was supposed to do something special with my life, and this must be what it is. And I've been working hard at it and climbing the mountain ever since.
That's super fascinating. I know that a lot of people watching share in your experience, have had similar experiences. I have a lot of people that come to me that follow my program that have these similar experiences and they don't know what to do. And so your book is sort of a great guide for people that have these abilities but don't know quite what to do with it. It's a good starting place.
Yeah, thank you. It is. It's for the beginner, but really it's for anybody. It's for the advanced too, advanced as well. You know, I mean, some people, there's always something to learn from this book. Even when I go back and look at it, it reminds me of things.
Yeah. So to start, on the second chapter, I love this, the energetic thumbprint,
Right.
where you talk about energy and the way that energy works and how powerful our thoughts are.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit more so that how we can utilize this energy and how we can avoid fear in our lives and how that thumbprint affects us.
Okay, so everybody has their own unique energy thumbprint,
Hmm.
meaning that you who are Brian will always be Brian, no matter what, through eternity. You will be who you are, and I will always be who I am. Um, when we cross over to the other side, we judge ourselves in God's eyes or the universal consciousness or the divine maker, or whoever you want to call that higher power. I think there's a God, so that's what I think. And I think God is love and love is God. So when we get there, we go, well, did I do a good, let's say you're a caveman and you hit your wife over the head and you go to the spirit world and you go, boy, I really screwed up. I guess I have to go back again.
Hmm.
So then they reincarnate the caveman into another being. And let's say it's a monk. And let's say the monk does some really great things, but screws up at the end of his life. And then when he dies or crosses over, they reincarnate him into maybe a woman who needed to learn self-love or something. Meanwhile, the caveman, the monk, the woman are all in the soul. So they keep recycling us until we learn all our life's lessons. And let's say the woman, dedicates her whole life to her son who ends up curing cancer or something, but she never learned self-love because she was always giving to everybody else. So, but that unique energy thumbprint that is you will always be you. And as we reincarnate, hopefully we learn to live with faith and love instead of fear, because I think the opposite of faith and love is fear. So if you live in fear, you're never going to know when the universe is tipping you off to prevent a problem or obtain a goal. So it's important for everyone to have positive thoughts and positive thinking, because positive attracts positive and negative attracts negative and brings negative results, unfortunately, but positive bring positive results. So prayer is positive thinking. So no matter what religion you are, whatever you believe in, you need to, or it would be helpful to turn a negative thought to a positive one. Because then when you live in faith, if the universe is going to they'll download information to us. We got to listen and we got to know how to avoid something. Like I always say, whenever I'm on a TV show or on Ryan and Kelly and Kelly and Ryan, whatever, I'll say, how many people here had met somebody and maybe it was a romance, maybe it was a business deal, maybe it was a friendship, but you had a gut feeling not to do it. But you went and you did it anyway, and because you had something in common. But then time proves, as time goes on, that you suffered the consequences because you should have listened to your first thought. Or maybe it was a positive thing and like when I had Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos on Char Vision during the pandemic. Oh, that's my podcast, by the way.
Mhm.
I, you know, when she said when she met him, she knew right away he was going to be her husband. You know, that you see that stranger across a crowded room, and she just knew.
Mhm.
So I feel like that when we're intuitive and when we own it, I call it the 4 C's. You have to have the courage to do it, the confidence to own it, commit yourself to focusing on it and conquering it by acting upon it. So, you know, but maybe you suffered a consequence because you didn't listen to your first gut feeling, but maybe you were supposed to learn that lesson. You know, maybe you're supposed to go, oh, I knew it and I didn't listen. Maybe that's how you're supposed to learn.
Right. So then you kind of move on in the next chapter, and you really talk about letting go.
Mhm.
So we have all these past lives, and we've dealt with our energy, but at what point do we need to learn the lesson of letting go? Because if we don't, as you say, it blocks the flow of energy and that we have coming
Right,
in. So
right. And also some people just are angry, or they don't know how to forgive, and they don't know how to forgive themselves. You know, forgiveness is really important. So, you know, there's an old saying, let go and let God.
mhm,
So it's important, I feel, for everybody to let go of the negative and embrace the positive and manifest the life that you want, manifest the happiness you want, the financial goals that you have. It's possible for all of us to have those things. Now, there are some people who are stuck or think that they're stuck. Let's say they're in a marriage and it's not working out and they don't communicate, but they have children, and maybe the, you know, wife is the breadwinner or the husband's the breadwinner, and you know, they need to stay in it because of the kids or whatever. I mean, there's, you know, there's a lot of different circumstances, and I'm not, you know, sometimes I sound like Pollyanna, but and sometimes I am. But there are ways to change your attitude if you're in a situation like that. You know, this is the interesting thing, Brian. Not everything in life is predestined. Oh, I mean, there is a blueprint that we have, that's our astrological chart.
mhm,
But most things in life we create by the choices that we make.
right.
And that's how we accrue our karma. So it's really life is a school, and it's a lesson for all of us to make wise choices. And I always say, when you use logic, common sense, and intuition, you get your best answers.
So related to what you were just talking about, I've had this sort of with communicating with my higher self and my guides.
Mhm.
They really don't want me to get into my past lives. It's they know that it'll be a big distraction, that I'm on my path, I'm on my journey, and they've implored me to let that go.
Wait,
So
wait,
is
wait,
there
wait, 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 wait.
Mhm,
Excuse me for interrupting.
yeah,
Your life since you were born, or your real past life when you were
all my past
person,
lives,
when
all
you were
my
another
past,
person?
right. I've
Okay.
gone to a QHHT practitioner. I have an idea. My past lives, some of what I understand is pretty bizarre. I have some awareness of it, but
Right.
there's a point where it can be a huge distraction,
Mhm.
where I can get caught up in some, because a lot of stuff happened in our past lives, and I'm repeatedly told through my intuition that um, don't don't get into that, because you're on your path, you're doing what you need to do on this journey now, and
Right.
you've already learned your lessons from your past life. It's not
Right.
important. So some people need to know the balance. Like, do I need to focus so much on my past life, or at
No,
what point is
no,
it let
I
it go?
don't think so. I mean, I have my older sister's a doctor of psychology,
Hmm.
and she's a licensed PhD, and she does past life regression. Now,
Hmm.
some people need to have that past life
Yeah.
regression. Maybe they're not communicating well with their children or their husband or their wife, and then when they're taken to their past life, they're able to see who they were in that lifetime and why they're trying to fix it now. Now there's different reasons why, but not everybody needs to know their past lives. It's not, you know, a necessity, but at least we need to acknowledge that we did have past lives.
Right.
You know, explain the little 3-year-old kid who gets up in the middle of the night, goes, sits on the piano at the piano bench, their feet can hardly go over the bench, and they start playing Chopin.
Right.
Chopin and or Mozart or Beethoven. So, you know, that explains things. That explains, well, they had a past life, because how do you bring, you know, how do you do that? I mean, how do you do that? But, you know, everyone's journey is different. And if your guides are telling you, you don't need to know, then you don't need to know. Why bother with it? You know, you may have done something that's really not nice or good, and you might feel guilty now that you did it. So why even bring it up? You know, you're moving forward, you're helping people, you're on your journey. You know, you're you know, a gentleman who's trying to open people's minds up to spirituality. I mean, God bless you. That's great.
But you know, it's still always there, and there's a part of me that wants to know. If I'm told that, like, that makes me even more curious. So as a psychic, somebody that you spend another chapter on spirits and visitations, tell me a little bit more of your concept as you see it, because I think everybody has their own perspective. Just like you know, from whatever perspective I see, something is different than you. Of what you see of the afterlife. How often do you see spirits and visit it, and are there visitations? What do you know of the afterlife? Tell me as much as you can,
Oh,
from your
okay.
knowledge of it.
So, you know, I do readings practically every day, practically every weekday. And I also, you know, read for people in small group readings and in larger audiences. And our loved ones, I always say they're dying to talk to us, bada bing, bada boom. But they want us to know that they're there. They want us to know that they're guiding us. So my communication with them is usually through thought, but I also have had spirits manifest in my bedroom at night, and, you know, people I know, people I don't know. It just depends on, and it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens a lot of time when I don't have a lot of sleep. And you know, I don't really drink. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything like that. I mean, once in a while I might have a little wine, but I'm pretty balanced. And I think that it's important to be psychologically, emotionally, and physically balanced when you do this work. Yeah, I know that spirits have manifested in front of people to apologize, or to try to find some closure with somebody. Or there are trickster energies who try to, you know, we live in a physical world and we live in an energetic world, and there's good and evil in both. So there's also trickster energies, or, you know, even poltergeists with teenagers that will make things go bump in the night. So I can tell you one story that happened to me when I was on my first book tour with St. Martin's Press, with my book called Questions from Earth, Answers from Heaven. And when you do a book tour, you wake up early in the morning and you do the morning shows, and then you're out late at night doing book signings, and you have to go to sleep and wake up early to catch the next plane. It's grueling. So thank God for technology and Zoom. It makes it so much easier. So anyway, I was in a hotel in Oregon, and I hardly had any sleep. I woke up at night and I saw this man that I could see through staring at me, and I screamed, and he, like, just like a robot, turned around and walked through to the wall and through the window, and went right through the window. And I was like, I screamed. It was like, it scared me. And the next day I asked to talk to the manager of the hotel, and I said, you probably don't know who I am, but my name is Char and I'm a psychic, and I was here doing the morning show and a book signing. And I said, has anyone ever talked about spirits being seen around here? And they said, well, it's interesting you say that, because let's say I was in room 404. Well, in room 104, 204, 304, 404, 504, 604, 704, there was all kinds of activity going on. Like there was a tea tray that was moved, and people who said that they saw spirits and stuff. And my take on it was there was probably somebody who committed suicide, and he was kept going over and around the floors. So it was it's one of like one of the haunted things I've ever experienced.
Yeah. So it's a question I ask psychics that come on, because I've had a near-death experience, and when I read about the afterlife, how can I know that I'm not dead? You can in some of these books that I read, and some of the spiritual things going on with spirits that move on, they're sometimes in a sort of simulation because they can't handle that they've died, so they think that they're still living, going through their life. And so I ask you, how do I know that I'm not dead?
That's true, because that spirit that I saw in the hotel, I prayed for him and I tried to send him to the white light.
Right.
So how do you know you're not dead right now?
How do I know I'm not dead?
Well, if you believe in quantum physics, the past, present, and future are all going on at the same time. So, I maybe, I mean, this is just another dimension. Maybe, some people say it's hell on earth. I
All
mean,
right.
how do you know?
How do you know?
I feel that when we cross over, we go to another dimension, and that there is a spirit world. So we don't really know, and maybe we don't really understand everything till we do cross over to the other side.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it was like, I think I'm alive because when I eat too much food, I gain weight.
Okay, that's good.
And when you're a spirit, you only have an ethereal body. You don't have a physical body.
I have to admit, my metabolism has been pretty good. I've had some pretty big meals lately, and I've been pretty. So, my next question, with that knowledge, being that you have a heightened sense and being able to see spirits, is there a way for me to protect the energy in my environment? Is there practices or techniques that you would recommend that I can cleanse and remove the trickster energies and negative energies?
Right. Okay. So I'll tell you the prayer that I say in my book. It's in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can have people buy the book, and you'll read the
I'll
prayer.
put the link in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, they can go to char.net, char.net, for all things about the book, all things about my social media, all things about Char, but me. So I tell people to put a white light around them, a blinding white light, and then put themselves inside an egg and close it up. The shell of the egg is a mirror, like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if some people are hearing this on audio. Are they seeing it visually?
Some people on audio, most visually, yes.
Okay, so here's a mirrored egg.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything dark or negative, you send back to where it came from. And I've got a whole thing that a prayer that I say and that I teach people to use. And it really works for me and for other people I know. And the great thing about the white light and the mirrored egg is that after you put yourself in it, then you put your daughter in it, or your best friend, or your loved one, or your mother, your father, the people you love, because you want to keep them protected too.
Can I put my whole house in a mirrored egg?
I do.
All right.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
you sure can. In fact, I just talked to somebody I'm life coaching, and she's wanting to get a new house. And I said, well, put it in the white light and the mirrored egg. Manifest it.
So between my wife and I, my wife is much more psychic than I am. She's constantly but hers a lot of times comes in. She knows when she gets a certain itch or scratch, it means something, but also dreams. She has dreams
Right.
that so let's communicate to those people that do have dreams that seem to
Okay.
forecast the future and give them knowledge. How can we
So,
understand dreams?
so we're so busy in our everyday life that sometimes the only way our guardian angels and spirit guides and loved ones can come to us is while we're sleeping, because our mind is more quiet. And usually a loved one will come and give a message. Now, when it may not be exactly what you're dreaming, but there'll be some kind of message in it. Like, recently I had a dream with my dad in it, and I could tell he was trying to tell me that, don't worry, I've got your back. Don't worry, you're okay. So he passed away in 1984. He's only come to me maybe 10 or 12 times.
Mhm.
So I know for a fact that he was there to protect me and take care of me. This just happened the other night. So, your wife is probably sensitive and open, and love is the bridge that connects us to the other side. So her loved ones probably come in and try to connect with her,
Okay.
which is great. And but you have your own gifts. Everybody's got their own gifts. But what I wanted to say is that we all have a certain language with our spirit guides and our loved ones. There's different ways of communicating. Like, what did you say earlier? You said something like, if you had a feeling, or she gets a feeling.
It's in her business, if she knows she's going to have a good day, her hand will start itching, and it's
Right,
almost every single time when her hand itches, she knows what's going to
right,
happen that day. Stuff like that. She'll have little unique things that are unique to her, and she
right.
she starts to read those signs that come through her body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So she's developed a language with her body and her intuition and her feelings. And the more you communicate and understand those feelings, like some people get goosebumps, some people will smell the perfume of their grandmother. Or, I have a friend who, when she hugs people, she says, "Oh, you smell like Granny," meaning that she can trust that person because it smells like her grandma and she knows she can trust them. Or, some people, get, tickling somewhere. And so we all have a way of learning this language, and everybody's different. Now, many times a spirit will want to come, will identify themselves as nature. So, there's the random, you ask for a sign and there's a butterfly or a red cardinal or a blue jay or a dragonfly or a hummingbird or a deer or a ladybug. I mean, there's just different ways that spirits will let you know that that's their sign. Like, our mother comes to us as a butterfly, and we have like great stories about, I was hiking in California, and it was right after she passed away, and I didn't have a cell phone, and I asked for a sign, and I turned the corner, and there were literally hundreds of butterflies.
Wow.
Hundreds. And my sister had told me earlier that week that, "I think Mom comes as a butterfly." She said this butterfly kept flying around me and it landed on me. And so that's why I said, ask for a sign. And then there were hundreds of butterflies, and I put my hands out and I felt their wings fluttering on my hands, and I went,
Wow.
"Oh my God, there's a bug." And I went, "No, but it's my mother."
Yeah.
And I felt the energy, and there was only one girl on the mountain besides me. And I said, "Do you believe this?" And she goes, "No, it's like unbelievable. It's incredible." But and then the other weird thing is, at the top of the mountain, I sat on a bench, and there was a plaque dedicated to people from on the bench. And the woman's first name was my mother's first name.
Oh, wow.
And so talk about, you know, being hit over the head with a sign.
Yeah. Yeah, with
Totally.
my wife, she coincidentally, she always has a white butterfly around her whenever she leaves. Even if
Mhm.
we go to another town, we'll
Right,
look around. There's the white butterfly, and she
right,
for her it's an angel. That's what she says. It's just angels watching over her, you know. So, but
right. But that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful that she knows that.
yeah. So you teach about intuition in your books, and you have a class coming up on September 19th and 20th on your
Yep,
website char.net on intuition.
yep.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Intuition can be tough for some people. Um, should I always rely on my first instinct? Is it always right? Is my first hunch always going to be right?
Well,
Or
you
how do
have
I
to
know?
know,
Yeah.
you have to know the difference between your gut and your hunch and your desires. And the more you do it, the stronger it gets. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And there's being psychic at random when you're in your busiest part of your day, and you're driving the car and something says, go home, your child needs you, your husband needs you, your mom needs you, your wife needs you, whatever. And you stop everything you're doing, you turn around, you go home, and they're there and they need you, or you left the stove on or something.
Mhm.
There's always a reason to empower yourself with following that feeling. And then there's psychic on demand, which I teach in my class too, where you can really scan people, scan
Mhm.
their energy, understand their energy, and and that's how I read for people, when I scan their energy and I tune into them.
Okay. So with is there times when that first instinct is wrong? Is it always that's the main thing? Should it always when I have that first instinct, but then later on I have some other ideas that seem great? Should I always weigh that first instinct over the others?
Probably, probably that's a good idea. But then again, you have to make sure it's a gut feeling. You
Right.
have to make sure it's not your desire, or maybe it's a logical thing that should be done too. I mean, you have to, understand it. Not every time, you're not always going to get an intuitive feeling.
Yeah. So what
You
do you
just
do
need
when
that
you
Mhm.
sorry, what do you do when you don't have that feeling? You don't get the hunch and you have these
Well,
two
then,
decisions.
then, each man for themselves.
All right. So, for people, a common question when I have a psychic of your stature, uh, how do I connect to my spirit guides? So people say, Brian, I can't connect to my spirit guides. Is there a technique or way that they can connect to their spirit guides,
Well,
that you would
first of
recommend?
all, they need to go to that place that I take them to when they're, learning to be intuitive and psychic. And it's a thought that's downloaded into us. It's not a thought we think.
Okay.
So I have, the first time I just knew that my first guy that I ever knew was White Feather. I just knew he was Native American. His name was White Feather, and I just knew it was him. And the weird thing is, like, I was a regular on AM Los Angeles with Regis Philbin, who helped get me out there publicly.
Mhm.
And they literally would fly out of thin air while I was on TV. And then when we went to New York, they would literally fly when he had the show in New York with Live with Regis. They would literally float out of thin air while I'm on the set. And one
Wow.
time we went to lunch in a snowstorm. We were crossing the street, and Regis, he was like so friendly and was talking to the truck driver at the stoplight as we were crossing the street. And as we're crossing, a white feather came down in front of us in a snowstorm.
Wow.
And he would talk about it. He would talk about it during the shows. It was, God bless him. He was just so
Yeah,
great.
I'm so awesome that you got a chance to meet Regis Philbin, such an amazing
Well,
person.
literally, when I went to Los Angeles to be on TV, I had a feeling to go there because I wanted, it's a long story, but I was on a local show in Detroit,
Mhm.
and I did very well. And I thought, if I'm supposed to share this work with the world, then if I go to LA, then and I do well there, then I'm supposed to do this around the world. So I come home from doing the local Detroit show, and I call information in LA, which was a long distance call on a landline, which was a lot of money. And I said, hi, could I have the number of AMLA? And she goes, honey, what I think you want is KABC. I said, okay. So I call and I get KABC and I go, who's the producer of AMLA? And she goes, Ron Ziskin. I said, okay, thank you. And I hang up. And then I call back again. And I go, hi, is Mr. Ron Ziskin there? and he takes the call. He could never figure out why he took my call, but he did. And I said, I'm on Kelly and Company in Detroit. And he put his associate producer on, and I read for her and I blew her away. And she said, can you come to LA? And I'd never been to LA. And I said, yeah. She said, can you fly out here? And I went and looked where I kept my money, and I had $200 and I had enough money to go. And they put me up at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel and sent a car for me. And it was like, like real Hollywood. And everybody said, if Regis likes you, you'll do well in this business, meaning TV. And if he doesn't like you, you won't. Well, God bless Regis. He liked me, and I did so well that they kept flying me out every month. And I ended up getting an apartment there, which I have to this day.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's truly an amazing story.
It is. So to go back to the spirit guides, I have a question. What is your impression of who the spirit guides are? Are they former human beings that are aiding, or are they?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them have lived their lifetimes and learned the lessons so they can help guide us. But I also feel like there are beings of angels that are God's secret agents that are up there guiding us, and guardian angels and spirit guides. But I think a lot of them are, some of them we may have known in a past life, but that they're older souls than we are, and they were able to come back and help guide us.
So you talk a little bit more, you cover so much more in your book, and I totally recommend everybody, because we barely scratched the surface of the cool stories and stuff and techniques.
Thank you.
You talk about the importance of maintaining a journal, which I totally recommend. It helps you to get in touch with your psychic senses. Talk a little bit about miracles. So we only have a few more minutes left. I know that you have a busy schedule, so I wanted you to get your perspective of miracles and how they happen in your life, and in relation to being a psychic.
We see miracles every day. Waking up in the morning and being healthy is a miracle.
It's true.
When, seeing a little baby walk for the first time is a miracle. Seeing it, coming home and having my dog all excited to see me is a miracle. But also asking for signs from your loved ones in the spirit world, and you ask a question, and the license plate in front of you has their initials on it, or you ask for a sign and you turn the radio on and their favorite song comes on. Right. Or you have you ask for a sign and the billboard says, I'm with you, don't be afraid, or something like that. So we get signs all the time. Now, some people really get signs like somebody crosses over, and like somebody today told me her husband passed away young, and his watch that whole week would go around in circles, like just around and around and around and around and around, like, and now it stopped. So, and it was a winding watch. And so, there things like that happen all the time, but we all need to just be aware, because when we're aware, we can see all the miracles that happen to us.
Yeah, it's true. There's miracles every day. So many people are walking by miracles and not even aware that they're happening right before their eyes. Exactly. All the time. It's a miraculous world.
Exactly. And also to have an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude is really important, not, why don't I have this? Why am I not? Just wake up in the morning and be grateful to have a roof over your head, or a bed to sleep in, or food on the table. I mean, let's start with the basics.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an amazing joy to meet you and an honor to talk with you. And everybody, I recommend your book, You Are Psychic. And you have many other books. So just look up Char Margolis. You can find char.net. All of her information. She has, like I said before, a class on September 19th and 20th on intuition. And I'll keep my eye out.
You know what else? I forgot to tell you, I'm doing Patreon now, where I'm doing a once a month positive energy group that if you go to char.net, char.net, you can sign up for the positive energy group. It's a safe place for people to come to with like minds to let's try and help save this planet and heal it.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. It's been an honor to meet you,
Brian.
and welcome to the Reality Revolution.
Thank you. God bless you.